Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something truly fascinating. We are looking at a specific aquatic crop, scientifically known as Euryale ferox. Now, you probably know the edible part of this plant much better as the foxnut or Makhana. And what is absolutely incredible to see is how this ancient seed, which has been cultivated using the exact same traditional practices for generations, has practically overnight evolved into this highly sought-after premium health food.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What on earth connects the shallow, muddy ponds and wetlands of eastern India to those sleek, eye-catching supermarket shelves you see all over the globe? I mean, it's a massive leap, going from traditional wetland farming to the absolute explosion of clean-label, plant-based superfoods driving modern snack trends today. Well, that transformation is exactly what we are going to unpack.
Let's jump right into Section 1. Meet the new superfood and why Makhana is booming.
When you stack Makhana up against the traditional heavyweights of the snack aisle, your almonds, walnuts, and cashews, studies show its nutrient profile is actually superior in some pretty surprising ways. A huge differentiator here is the fat content. Makhana has an incredibly low amount of fat, literally just 0.33 grams per 100 grams. Good luck finding that in a handful of roasted cashews.
And it's not just about what it lacks. This completely cholesterol-free snack is a total nutritional powerhouse. You've got complex carbohydrates, high-quality protein coming in at over 11 grams, plenty of dietary fiber, and this fantastic array of essential micronutrients. We're talking calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, and iron.
Because of that crazy nutrient profile, the health perks are honestly staggering. Its low glycemic load makes it an amazingly safe, ideal fit for people managing diabetes. It supports heart health, it aids digestion, and it even boasts anti-aging properties. But here's the kicker. It has about 95% protein digestibility, and its essential amino acid index is actually comparable to fish. Honestly, next time you need a plant-based post-workout snack, this is exactly what you want.
Moving right along to Section 2, India's Makhana heartland and Bihar's global impact.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this staggering number, 80 to 85%. While India is the undisputed global leader in Makhana production, the state of Bihar alone contributes nearly 3/4 of India's total domestic production, and an astounding 80 to 85% of the entire global supply. Just one state is basically feeding this global boom. If we zoom in on Bihar for the 2025-26 fiscal year, you can see the production hubs are heavily concentrated up north. Districts in the Kosi Basin like Supaul, Sarsa, and Madhepura, along with Katihar and Purnia, are the absolute epicenter of this. Katihar and Purnia alone are cranking out massive volumes, which is really what's driving Bihar's total expected production to a staggering 60,000 metric tons. And because this region's heritage is so deeply, uniquely tied to the specific crop, Mithila Makhana was actually granted a prestigious geographical indication, or GI tag. Think of it kind of like champagne in France. This isn't just a nice honor, it provides vital legal protection. It legally recognizes the unique traditional knowledge of the Mithila region, gives it market differentiation, and provides immense branding power on a global scale. Okay, Section 3. From pond to packet, exploring the value chain. The whole Makhana value chain really breaks down into 3 major phases. First, you've got farm-level production, where the crop is grown and harvested. Second is primary processing, which preps the raw seeds. And finally, secondary processing and value addition, which is where it turns into that branded snack we all recognize. Let's trace this flow from the murky waters directly to the sleek packaging.
It all kicks off at the farm level. And let me tell you, this is highly labor-intensive. These aren't your typical simple wheat fields. Makhana grows in water bodies. Harvesting it depends heavily on incredibly skilled manual labor because workers literally have to dive underwater, hold their breath, and physically collect these seeds from the muddy bottom of shallow ponds. It is basically a grueling, muddy treasure hunt for a premium snack. After that comes primary processing, which usually happens right at the household or village level. The raw, black seeds pulled up from the pond have to be meticulously washed and cleaned in water, and then they're spread out under the sun for traditional natural drying. Then the real magic happens. The dried, raw seeds go through high-temperature roasting right over a fire. Once they heat up, they're manually popped, expanding into that famous, fluffy, white, crunchy shape. After they're popped, workers meticulously hand-grade the Makhana by size and quality. This is a super important step because those larger sizes fetch significant premium prices on the market.
Finally, we reach secondary processing. The raw popped Makhana gets polished to a really bright white finish. From there, it's flavored, packed into ready-to-eat branded snack jars, or can even be milled down into Makhana flour. This is the stage where the raw agricultural product is truly elevated for the modern consumer market.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, the economic boom and soaring market value.
You really have to see these numbers because they are wild. Between 2020 and 2022, the average price was roughly 500 rupees per kilogram. Fast forward to 2025, and that skyrocketed to nearly 1,250 rupees per kilo. Why the sudden jump? Well, production volumes only increased by about 4 to 5% in that time, so you had this heavily limited supply clashing with rapid premiumization and a huge spike in health awareness. Looking ahead, the domestic market is projected to hit a valuation of 11,000 to 12,000 crore rupees by the 2029-30 financial year.
And that domestic demand is just absolutely ravenous right now. India is consuming 3,000 to 3,500 metric tons of popped Makhana every single month, and that surges to 5,000 tons during festival seasons. So to fuel this 17 to 18% annual market growth, the government actually stepped in. They formally launched the National Makhana Board in September 2025 and approved a massive central sector scheme worth over 476 crore rupees to fund research, seed quality, branding, and farmer training all the way through 2031.
Section 5, taking on global markets and export dynamics. And trust me, those export dynamics are huge. In the 2025-26 period alone, India exported over 7,200 metric tons of Makhana products, pulling in over 19,000 lakh rupees.
Now, when we look at the global landscape, there is a very clear strategic divide happening. On one hand, you have your high-volume markets that pay lower unit prices, and on the other hand, you have low-volume but highly premium-priced markets.
Let's break that down a bit to see what I mean. The export market is heavily concentrated in North America and the UAE right now. The United States gobbles up a massive 40% of the volume share, but they buy at around $19.50 per kilo. Canada takes 20% at $15.80. But look at the premium markets. Germany is only buying about 1 to 5% of the volume, but they are paying an average of $26 per kilo. So the strategic opportunity here is massive. Diversifying away from those bulk buyers and into European markets yields much higher unit prices, which ultimately means a lot more revenue going back to the Indian agricultural sector.
To keep this whole global push sustainable, the National Research Center for Makhana, or NRCM, is seriously future-proofing the industry. They have already trained over 3,000 farmers in better cultivation practices, distributed nearly 16,000 kilograms of high-yielding seeds like the Swarnavedahi variety, and they've even engineered and licensed out commercialized popping machines to modernize the processing phase. They are literally securing the entire supply chain from the ground up. So, we've seen how Euryale ferox went from a hyper-specialized regional crop, literally harvested by hand from the muddy bottoms of ponds, to a heavily funded, globally exported nutritional powerhouse. And it really leaves us with a fascinating thought. With these ancient practices perfectly feeding modern global health trends, what hyper-regional traditional crop is out there right now, just waiting to become the next global superfood? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this totally changes how you look at the snacks sitting in your pantry.